Parents who have disowned or genuinely stopped loving your child. What happened? My siblings and I have stopped interacting with my oldest brother. We found out that years earlier he had molested at least 2 boys. He was an adult at the time. He showed no remorse and turned the story around to say that those boys were at fault. It was so disgusting to watch someone you grew up with treat people so poorly and show such a blatant disregard for others. The good news is that the remaining 4 siblings have become closer and we now are able to appreciate the good we see in each other. It's true when they say that if you could pick your family it would look much different than it is. My parents didn't disown me. I was just a weird mistake. My mother never wanted a child. She bailed after a few months. My father was a single parent and ended up in prison life without parole when I was 14. I finally met my mother. She was a police detective by the time I moved in with her. She threw me out after 2 months. I'm 30 now, and life is typically a little weird around the holidays, but I always get a good laugh when I tell people that my father is in prison for life and my mother is a cop. But then they get super awkward when I tell them that no. It's not a joke. It took a long time for me to come to terms with it, but I know now that none of it was my fault. Edit. This blew up way more than I expected. Thanks for all the kind words, everybody. I'm sorry. Just generally. Oh, it's fine. No need to be sorry. I ended up moving in with a few more families before finally moving in with my grandparents, who were the best. I love my son, but he abused me. When he turned that violence onto his sister by choking her, I had to say goodbye. I wish my mom had done that to my brother sometimes. She saw it all. But what hurt the most was having my parents, the people who are supposed to protect me, ask me to forgive my attacker just because he happened to be my brother. If anyone else had done that to me, they would have gone nuts on them. But has blood, so it cancels out I guess. Same for me. They saw him doing horrible things to me and laughed, stopped me from getting help by lying to the person I told about the abuse to super bad handling of the case, and told me to not make such a big deal out of it. I disowned them because clearly my safety and health did not matter to them. My father said my mother's issue was she had too many children, and it gave her some kind of brain fever, much like a dog that loses its mind after having too many puppies. My mother said my father felt trapped by me. He was planning to leave when it was just my 2 older brother, and then my mother got pregnant with me and he felt obligated to stay. Now that I'm adult with 2 kids myself, I think I realized that both of my parents are just extremely mentally ill and incapable of loving anyone, including themselves. Since it seems to have widened a bit, a family torn apart, based on an aunt and her niece. Aunt starts signs of dementia at a relatively young age, is moved into an assisted living home. Niece who bounces around jobs gets hire ex to go visit her about once a week, take her out to the mall or a walk in the park, whatever. Paid handsomely. We get an alert that aunt has a check bounce from her account that should have $5k in it. Niece has drained the account. Proven beyond a doubt, with receipts. Niece would take aunt to aunt's bank machine every Friday and withdraw $200, then fill her car with gas aunt can't drive, and charge us hours when she clearly didn't spend hours with aunt. Charged us claiming she took aunt to appointments. There was no appointment. We can actually call the doctor FYI. The family rift. For some bizarre reason niece's family took her side. A little different. I was disowned, but I deserved it. I was an addict and a mess for a long time. My mom couldn't keep bailing me out of trouble and watch me self-destruct anymore. I wasn't living at home. She came to see me one last time to tell me she was done, not to contact her. She would no longer have anything to do with me. She was in pieces. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for her. But it was the best thing she ever did for me. Once she cut me off, my rock bottom came hard and fast. After a little while of living on the streets and my addiction consuming me, I made my way to a detox center, got a few days clean under my belt, and never looked back. That was almost 15 years ago. After I was clean a little while, I contacted my mom, and little by little we built a relationship again. And now we are really close. I'm forever grateful to my mom for letting me fall and letting me back into her life. I'm not sure if this counts. I didn't disown him, but I went through a dissociative episode after some really intense trauma, and I honestly couldn't feel any attachment and parental love that I had for my son. I tried not to show it and behave as normally as possible because he was a child at the time and couldn't possibly understand what I was going through. It was pretty disturbing to not be able to feel any sense of bond with him. I eventually got better, but I definitely did not feel what I or most people would call love for him. I have disowned my oldest son. He molested my daughter, has been diagnosed as a sociopath, and we have restraining orders against him. It isn't fun, and I never thought I would be that parent. This may be weird coming from a stranger, but thank you for doing so. My partner told her mother that her older brother sexually abused her for close to 10 years and she did nothing. She never reacted to the info, kept letting brother live with her, and still expects us all to play happy family. I really respect you for what you did. I asked my biological father at 28 why he never tried to see me after he and my mom got a divorce. He said he never wanted to try for any custody arrangement because that meant he would have to pay child support. So the fear of child support led him to stop talking to his 9-year-old. He's currently doing the same thing to my 2 younger half-sisters. Some people just really shouldn't be parents. As Jehovah's Witnesses, my parents disowned my siblings and I several times since I was in my late teens. One of the JW rules is that you do not associate with others who know the truth, but refuse to follow it, including family, and parents are encouraged to disown any children who have left the religion. The first time was when I was 19. It upset me, I was heartbroken, and eventually they changed their minds, only to do it again a couple years later, and so on until I stopped caring and no longer attempt to be a part of their lives at all. Not my story, but in a similar thread to this one, asking parents about when they realized they raised a monster. Someone linked to this post reddit.com/r/if/comment/1jadv/ I am not proud of my son /tl/dr of that post. The son was a dipshit as a teen, but took it way further by eventually raping his own mother, who committed suicide a year after. Not the parent, but my mom ceased all contact with my much older half-brother from a different dad. He was a violent, angry addict, would steal from and beat up my grandparents and my mom. She finally had enough. He died this year, and it's the first time my mom had seen him since she cut him off 15-ish years ago. I now have my own kids and I've always supported my mom's decision. That said, I feel so sorry for her, Marisa, than when I was just her kid. I can't imagine ever reaching that point with my kids, and I'm sure she never did either. Not a parent, but my parents stopped loving me the moment I was disfellowshipped as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was promptly kicked out. I knew nothing of how to live on my own at the time, but I had a decent job and survived. My brother stopped associating with them 2 years later and lives with me, and they since moved away 1,500 miles away to be exact. It's easier to tell people I'm orphan or that I do not have parents, cause it's hard to explain how they would stop loving or want to associate with their own son over some stupid cult rules. My brother was disfellowshipped for not believing years ago, and I saw him suffer from a distance because I wasn't allowed to associate with him. I left when I turned 18 because I knew that if I left earlier my life would have been hell. My reason? I didn't like how they cheat on my brother and made my family turn their backs on him. My only regret was not leaving sooner. I don't have it as bad as my brother because I never got baptized, but my family still treats me differently. I hope my mom answers this one. If I'm allowed to ask, what happened between you and your mother? I disowned a family member, not a child though. We were very close until he ended up being caught in a pedo sting. Then I turned my back and haven't looked back. I have a sister the age of the girl he was supposed to meet. I can't associate with scum like that. FYI, according to my sister, nothing was ever done to her.